Welcome to a new series that I'm starting on my channel, which is going to revolve around taupe eyeshadow. I have been low-key in love with the color taupe for the past year, and not only in eyeshadow, but I've also actually started really getting into it in terms of clothes. As it turns out, finding clothes in the actual color taupe is really difficult. Fortunately, unlike with clothes where I really only have like one or two pieces that could be called taupe, when it comes to eyeshadow, I actually have quite a few representatives of the species, so I think we can do quite a fun series. I'm going to start doing my color cosmetics, so I've already done my base makeup. So eyeshadow, primer, brows, you know, foundation, concealer, that kind of thing will always be on at the start of these videos so that we can get through them a bit faster. But I will do the color cosmetics with you because I think it's fun to see how I pair the eyeshadow together with the rest of the makeup. For my bronzer today, I'm going to grab one of my most favorite cooler toned bronzers. This is the shade Diffused Bronze Light by Hourglass. I only have a mini and I'm rather convinced that I will be panning that mini within the next season. But you know, these things always take much longer than you expect. It seems like I'm going to hit big pan on it soon, but it might also just as well be that it goes for another few years. At least on me, this bronzer translates very much like a, you know, pink, like mauve based taupe. And that brings me to like a little disclaimer when it comes to this series. Obviously, the whole idea with the taupe eyeshadows is going to be centered around my personal interpretation of the color taupe. I think I have a pretty good idea what the color is and what kind of undertones you can expect from it, but it may be then in certain instances you don't quite agree that the eyeshadow that I'm using is taupe, you might call it something else. So I'm just giving you a fair warning, it might be that we're seeing taupe through my personal lens. For my blush today, I'm going to grab my most cool toned blush. Let me grab the right one because I just realized I grabbed the wrong shade. And here I am back with the correct blush. This is the shade Flirtatious from the Pat McGrath Labs Divine blush line. This is the most cool toned blush that I currently own. It is so light in tone and so cool toned that I can really only ever use it when it's winter. It's certainly a shade that will not show up on every skin tone, because even on me when I am tanned it doesn't really quite show up and it looks really odd because it's quite cool toned and I tan really warm. But in the winter I think it is the perfect companion to cooler toned bronzers and specifically to Diffused Bronze Light from Hourglass. I would describe Flirtatious as a cool toned pink with like slightly neutral undertones to it. And of course, now taking one of my most favorite cooler toned highlighters, this is the shade Lunar, this is the shade Lunar Nude. It is an old holiday collection highlighter in the Hard Gelée formula from Pat McGrath Labs. It also has a slightly cooler pink undertone, which is why I think it would fit perfectly with the vibes of this look. I'm going to quickly set all the powders with a little bit of the Airbrush Flawless Finish Setting Spray from Charlotte Tilbury. And then we can proceed with the eye look, where in fact we're going to start with a product that is brand new in my collection. I've not tried it myself, I haven't even swatched it. It arrived yesterday evening when it was already so dark that I figured there's no point swatching it because I will probably not be able to see the color in reality. So I decided to wait until today and just share the experience and this moment with you. And of course I'm going to zoom you in for this experience. The new eyeshadow I'm referring to is one that you've heard about very briefly in my previous video when I said that I had finally purchased one of the Armani Eye Tints. So this is in the shade Cashew, which I hoped was going to be a rosy toned taupe. That's what it looks like if I look just at the color through the packaging, but I really hope that that's also how it translates on the lid. So I am going to do what I usually do with these types of eyeshadows, because I don't really apply liquid eyeshadows straight onto my eyelids because I never know, you know, how much coverage and pigment I'm dealing with, so I always find it a little bit safer to just apply a little bit here on the back of my hand. Oh, this looks like a beautiful, like deeper taupe actually. It's not as light as I expected, which is really good. Alright, I'm going to grab a little bit of this and then I'm going to take a brush which is somewhat fluffier and then I'm going to apply the product onto the brush and translate it like this onto my lids. You know what, maybe I am going to apply this straight to the eyelids because this doesn't deposit as much color as I thought it would and it starts to dry out fairly fast. So I don't think I have enough time to transfer it from my hand onto the lids. and we're not really dealing with something that's overly pigmented. Think of the liquid silk shades from Lisa Eldridge. Those go on so pigmented that I really have to start on the back of my hand, otherwise I always risk applying way too much. Wow, that is gorgeous. I like this color so much. It is exactly what I wanted it to be. So pretty. Okay, thank you so much, Alicia, for inspiring me to try these, and this color specifically. I'll be honest with you, I've been eyeing this color since the summer. I've wanted to try one of these for the longest time, ever since I got into the liquid silk eyeshadows from Lisa Eldridge, because I really do love the liquid silk eyeshadows so very much. But I'm missing shades like this. I'm missing like a neutral brown or like a beigey, browny, taupey brown. She just doesn't have anything like this in the collection currently. So then I started looking into these Armani skin tints, and I also know people have been very favorable in their reviews of them. So already since the summer I've been lusting after one of them, more specifically the matte shades, and Cashew in particular. So when I saw Alicia demo it, I thought, well, finally it is the time for me. And you know, also a little bit of discount for Black Friday. By the way, I'm slightly taking it also on my lower lashes, but I think I might apply just a little bit more and go in with a smaller brush, because I think that might just be a little bit easier. And in fact, I'm also going to apply that here on my waterline. And lightly on the lower lashes. And then without wasting another second, because I think this dries out quite fast, I'm going to blend it here on the lower lashes. So this is the color once it dries down, and I hope you would agree with me that this is clearly like a slightly rosy but mostly neutral toned taupe. It is gorgeous. I mean, we could argue that maybe it's a beige, but is it a beige, is it a taupe? Sometimes it's hard to tell. I would call this a taupe. Okay, so far so good. I'm really enjoying Cashew from Armani. I wanted to show you just... Why do I have a hair on my lid? I wanted to just show you a little bit what the eyeshadow looks like on the lids before I apply anything else, because I think it looks gorgeous. It has, I feel like, that same like smoothing quality to the skin as do the liquid silks from Lisa Eldridge. It looks really flawless on the skin. It was very easy to blend out. I think they dry out fairly fast, and it seems like something that is not going to move around too much throughout the day. It is gorgeous. Now, my strategy usually when I apply these kind of eyeshadows is I apply a very light layer of some sort of sparkle over it, because as much as I like this and as much as I, you know, like the idea of a matte eyeshadow look, I am a sparkle girly. I love my glitter. So I'm going to pop on just a little bit of glitter and something in my inner corners, and I actually want to do something fun for a liner moment as well. I'm going to grab this little palette I have here from Bobbi Brown. This is also an older holiday collection release. This is the Moonstone Glow Looks and Eye Cheek palette. I want to say it's called Moonstone Glow. Anyway, the shade of the highlighter here is one that I'm going to use for my inner corner highlight. And I'm going to apply some of these taupery shades over Cashew. And I think I briefly discussed this with a couple of you, but I'm curious to have a more, you know, serious conversation about this. But I noticed, just like some of you, that my Bobbi Brown palettes, the palettes particularly, have a very strong chemically smell to them. And at first I thought, oh, maybe I just didn't recall them smelling that way. But then I went to my singles from Bobbi Brown, which are in the same formula, by the way, the Hard Gelée, and they don't smell at all. There's no scent coming off of these. And some of these are like, I have this one and this one, they're from the same collection. One of you actually very kindly sent them to me all the way from Canada because they never came to Europe. They're from the same year, from the same collection. The green eyeshadow doesn't have any detectable scent to it. Both this and the two palettes that I purchased in the summer of last year, so Milky Way and Star-Crossed, so these are like not even 2 years old, they're like 1.5 years old. Both of them have that scent. I will say this, they're too new and I haven't noticed any, you know, irritation on my eyes, although I would, you know, recommend caution if you do have very sensitive eyes. and I'm not really sure what's going on here, because this is a formula that also exists across all the Mothership palettes, and I have a lot of my Mothership palettes since 2018. Nothing in there has any sort of scent to it. So I'm a little bit baffled by this and quite disappointed. Anyway, I'm going to make a mix out of these two shades here. So these are the shades Lunar, and this one is Mystic. And I'm going to plop on a few of those glitter particles onto Cashew, but really only a few, because I like the idea of the matte look a lot, but I do want just a little bit of fun sparkles to catch the light every now and then when I go to work and stand in the artificial lighting. And these two, when you mix them, they look really, really pretty. I'm not even really sure you can see much right now, but I do think in artificial lighting it's going to look gorgeous. And the next fun element I want to add to this look is I want to add a sparkly green liner. Yesterday I wore Blitz, deeply embarrassing, but I can't remember the name of the green eyeshadow in my Sublime palette, my favorite green eyeshadow from Pat McGrath. I can't remember the name. Anyway, you know the one I'm talking about. I used that as a liner yesterday and I really liked it. So I want to do something similar today, but using a different green eyeshadow, and I'm going to go for this one from Wycon, not Icon. This is in the shade 09 from their Visionary eyeshadow collection. So this is also hard gelée, and it is a gorgeous cooler toned deep forest green. And I'm going to use a very stiff brush to apply this, because I want the sparkle to stick really well both to the brush and to my lids, and I'm going to use that as a liner. In theory I could also probably wet my brush and apply this eyeshadow wet, but nobody got time for that. That's really nice. Let me also quickly show you what this looks like under artificial lighting, because I don't think you could appreciate the sparkles from Bobbi Brown in my regular daylight. So you can see that they add just a little bit without really taking away too much from Cashew. I also fully committed to the cooler tones, because I decided to pair the look with one of my favorite cooler toned winter lipsticks, a shade that I would also definitely refer to as a taupe. That is one of the mattes from Gucci. It is in the shade Suzanne Sunset. It is like a cooler toned beige. I will say this, I think I should have chosen for one of my other Gucci lipsticks, which has a bit more like a pink undertone to it, but I've already committed to Suzanne Sunset. I'm not going to switch out my lipstick now, but I do love the look nonetheless, and I'm particularly very impressed by Cashew from the Armani Eye Tint line. I'm looking at myself here in the mirror, that's why you're up every now and then you see me glazing over you and looking into the distance, because I'm admiring Cashew here in the mirror. I really, really like this eyeshadow. If you like the liquid silk eyeshadows from Lisa Eldridge, but you wanted to have more variety in the shades and the undertones, I would recommend these, because to me personally they sit on the skin in the exact same way that the liquid silk eyeshadows from Lisa Eldridge do. They go on very smoothly, they look very flattering on the skin, and they have that slightly blurring effect. So to me they are very comparable to each other. Of course these don't have the proprietary technology that the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows have, and something that I love about the Lisa Eldridge eyeshadows is that they kind of start to look better over the course of the day. Let's see if this one performs the same and how well it holds up. But from how difficult it was to remove the swatch from the back of my hand, I think they're going to be very long lasting. So, final verdict, I love this look. Please let me know what you thought about it. The rest of the looks are going to feature taupe eyeshadows that I already have in my collection and love. We're just going to keep going until I run out of inspirations or run out of taupe eyeshadows to show you. So hopefully you're excited for this series. Don't forget to let me know what your personal favorite taupe eyeshadows are. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and we will see each other in the next one. Bye!